So there was a huge update for the Nintendo Switch 2. Nintendo confirming through Furukawa, the president himself, that Nintendo Switch 2, or the successor, will be backwards compatible with Nintendo Switch 1 software. However, there's some misinformation that is going around based off of people who don't really play Nintendo games or cover Nintendo very seriously, trying to put out information that is not necessarily correct when it comes to how the backwards compatibility will work with Nintendo Switch 1 games. Is it digital or just physical or just digital or whatever the case is? So we're going to clear up that, and we're going to get into Nintendo's big plans for huge third-party support going forward as well, plus some other stuff. It's going to be a great one. But before we get into all that, what's good, everyone? OJ here. Welcome back to another video. Please make sure you hit that like button, subscribe if you're someone new, and click that notification bell to get my Nintendo Switch and RPG videos first. Now let's go ahead and jump right into what's happening here with the Nintendo Switch 2. Now, yes, we had a video yesterday and a live stream talking about it. Nintendo confirmed that they will have backwards compatibility for the Nintendo Switch successor. Furukawa came out and said this exactly. This is Furukawa. At today's corporate management policy briefing, we announced that Nintendo Switch software will also be playable on the successor to Nintendo Switch. Nintendo Switch Online will be available on the successor to the Nintendo Switch as well. Further information about the successor to Nintendo Switch, including its compatibility with Nintendo Switch, will be announced at a later date. Now, some people took this as, okay, it's normal backwards compatibility. That's what it's supposed to be. Nintendo's done this before. This isn't anything too crazy. It is what it is. But others who are popular in other places and don't necessarily cover Nintendo all the time took the opportunity to say that, wait a minute, this doesn't necessarily mean it's all backwards compatibility because there's no specific mention of cartridges, but digital games will for sure work on Switch 2. So I have to make sure that I come in here and stop Tom Warren here. He works for, I think it's Xbox, or it's the Verge. Sorry, he's more like an Xbox PC guy. But yeah, the Verge, he works for there, and that's what he usually covers. He doesn't cover Nintendo normally. So I want to make sure that I clarify a few different things. Nintendo considers software all of their games. There is not a distinction between digital and physical when it comes to software. I think what Tom Warren thought, and other people in the comment section thought, that Nintendo considers software digital games, maybe just because it's called software, but Nintendo considers hardware their actual hardware, like the Nintendo Switch, and software the games that come out for the said hardware. Now, if you look at Nintendo's investor meetings, if you look at how they've talked about games, if you looked at anywhere when they've discussed it, they've always said Nintendo Switch software, and that does include physical and digital. You can see right here on their investors report and their IR for all of their best-selling games, you can see right there in the top corner, Nintendo Switch software, and you see the games Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, Animal Crossing. That includes both physical and digital Nintendo Switch software or Nintendo Switch games. Now, some people seem to be confused by that, and they were asking me and kind of saying, well, wait a minute, it's only going to be digital or something. But no, Nintendo doesn't consider software digital only. If they said that it will be backwards compatible with Nintendo Switch software, that means physical and digital, because they've always counted physical and digital as Nintendo Switch software on their investors reports, on their IR page, and anytime that they've talked about games. They've never split it up unless they specifically mentioned it. So the funny thing with this is that it doesn't say digital either, but Tom also just assumes that they just mean digital with software, or that it's confirmed just digital, which that's not the case at all. That seems like something Microsoft would do when it comes to them actually splitting off and making sure that some systems have no physical games or no way to play physical games, or sometimes other things like Sony removing the physical disk drive from a premium system and making it optional or something like that, right? And putting it on the box, disc-free systems and other things. That's something that Nintendo isn't quite ready to do now at this point. Nintendo also talked about this back in May after another one of their investors meetings, saying that when it comes to software, Nintendo Switch software or software going forward, they want to maximize every version of that, which would mean physical and digital. And they said specifically physical software, they want to actually maximize that. Yes, digital's great and they're doing great with digital. The uptake is good, but they know that they can actually get more money from people doing physical as well. So I think you need to also factor that in when it comes down to it. But Nintendo is very clear with the messaging. They said Nintendo Switch software, which means Nintendo Switch software, physical and digital, like they have on their investor reports, like they've done pretty much for decades now at this point. This isn't a new thing overall. So no matter what anybody else says, Nintendo calls software physical and digital, and they've done that for decades now. You can look it up directly on their Nintendo IR page. It's right there. So I think that pretty much clears up that. But let's get into the next topic here. We're going to be discussing Nintendo Switch Successor third-party support. Nintendo is trying to strengthen the relationship with these third-party publishers, and they actually talked about it in their investors meeting. Now, with the Nintendo Switch Successor, Nintendo Switch 2 on the horizon here, this is absolutely going to be key when it comes to what Nintendo's going to do. Now, obviously, the plan is to get people to buy the system because of the massive first-party games. Many of these third-party titles that are going to be on the Nintendo Switch 2 early in its life are probably going to be games that we've already got or that are cheaper on other systems or that we've played before, or whatever the case is. Very similar to the Nintendo Switch when that system came out. But you still need to have a good array of third-party games. And I do think that Nintendo will have a better quality when it comes to third-party games this time around with the Nintendo Switch 2, considering what they're doing with the system. Now, in the strengthening relationships with software publishers slide, Nintendo stated that they want to make sure that they have companies like Atlus, Bandai Namco, Capcom, Nippon Ichi Software, Cygames, Devolver, Electronic Arts, Epic Games, From Software, Konami, Gung Ho, Furyu, Level 5, Marvelous, Microsoft, Sega, Spike Chunsoft, Square Enix, THQ Nordic, Take-Two, Ubisoft, Takara WB, and more that are going to be putting out games on the platform. Now, we did hear about Nintendo potentially discussing third-party ports to the Nintendo Switch and Switch 2 going forward overall while they work on their big first-party games. I do think that From Software, you see that on here, that was the official slide. I think we're going to see stuff like Elden Ring. Capcom is going to bring over their big games. I do think that we will see the big Resident Evil games like Resident Evil 4 Remake, Resident Evil 7, Resident Evil 8. Those will get ports just like we saw with Resident Evil 4, 5, and 6 on the Nintendo Switch. And I also feel that we'll get the new Monster Hunter game on the Nintendo Switch 2 as well. I'd expect Microsoft to continue delivering Minecraft and their games that are already multi-platform. Take-Two's on here. I think Sega, we're going to see Metaphor ReFantazio. We're going to see Persona. We're going to see all the typical stuff that we saw from Sega on the Nintendo Switch. I think Persona 3 Reload is going to finally come over as well. So I do think there's going to be a number of great games for people to be able to pick up, whether it's first party or third party. And it's only going to get better as Nintendo actually has a system down that developers are still supporting. If you look at overall with the last generation of systems with PlayStation 4 and Xbox One, PS4 in particular, they're still bringing a lot of games to the PlayStation 4. Now, there's still a lot of games that are coming exclusive only now at this point, but there's a huge backlog of games that still have support when it comes to PlayStation 4 because there's still a huge install base playing games on PlayStation 4. So I do think that's going to help out the Nintendo Switch Successor in the early days. So Nintendo's absolutely looking to kind of have a control and flow to the third-party games that's going to be a bit better than what we saw with the Nintendo Switch. And I fully expect there to be some good stuff overall. Dragon Ball Sparking Zero from Bandai Namco, I think we're going to see that and any of the other games that we did miss. Plus, this also gives the opportunity for some of these developers that already put games out on the Nintendo Switch. They could repackage some of those games as the definitive versions on the Nintendo Switch Successor and release it, maybe free updates or even paid stuff, or just re-release them overall in general. So I do see third parties coming out very strong, a lot stronger than what we saw with the Nintendo Switch, where it did take some time for the third parties to really kind of get on board. I think there's going to be a lot more of them right there around launch and more filtering in through as the years go on compared to the Nintendo Switch, where Nintendo really had to prove that this system was going to be around and that it was going to be supported and it was going to get sales. That was the biggest situation that we had when it came to the Wii U, just not enough sales. When it comes to the 3DS, just not enough system power, and the sales weren't incredible. They were good, but not incredible. So I think that with the Nintendo Switch Successor, they know that they have something huge here. Nintendo is all in on this system. system, and seems like they're preparing overall pretty crazily to get this thing off the ground and get it running quickly. So I expect third parties to be there and to do a great job on the system. But we are going to move on to the next topic here, guys, and that's discussing the impact of the Nintendo Switch Successor on this year's Switch Christmas sales. So this was interesting because I've heard this discussion and argument and talk back and forth overall with a lot of people on my channel and on Twitter and various social media. If Nintendo announces the Switch Successor, or the fact that people even know about it, does it really affect the current sales of the Switch to where they can miss their sales targets or not sell as much as they want? Well, Furukawa actually talked about that. So Nintendo President Shuntaro Furukawa told a Japanese news site that he doesn't really believe that the presence or the absence of the Successor will have much of an impact on customers who are purchasing the Nintendo Switch right now at this point. This was in response to being asked whether or not the presence of the next console will affect the sales of the current Switch during the all-important Christmas holiday shopping season, which Nintendo usually does pretty good during that. They have the Mario Kart bundles, they have the Mario Wonder bundle this year as well. So will it interfere with everything? And it doesn't seem like Furukawa is too worried about that. So President Furukawa said about the details on the Nintendo Switch Successor, there are no change in the plans to announce it during the financial year ending in March 2025. I can't say anything more than that. Now, regarding the potential hesitation to purchase the current model due to the announcement of the Successor, he added, quote, "I can't say it doesn't exist at all, but the Switch is already in its 8th year since launch. I don't think the presence or absence of a Successor will have much impact on customers who are purchasing it at this time." And this is something that I've said multiple times now at this point. It's in its 8th year. They're getting ready to move on. He said we can't say much more, but people who want to buy a Switch are going to buy the Switch. People who want to have the Successor will wait for the Successor. Most people at this point in its 8th year, if you're considering buying a Switch, you're buying it because you want a cheaper option. You just want something overall. You just want to play some of the games. You might not be one of the first adopters of the next system. You might just roll with that regular Nintendo Switch. Now, yeah, there might be some people, but I don't really think it takes a huge chunk out of what Nintendo's going to do, considering how old the system is, which is once again something that I've stated a few times now. Nintendo's moving on to the next thing. They're going to have their Switch Successor announced probably early in 2025, and it's going to launch probably first half or early second half of 2025, and that's going to be that. People are still going to pick up the Switch when they feel like it. I think Nintendo's probably going to discount the system, do some pretty compelling bundles in order to get people to pick it up, and then of course have the massive, huge, big first-party games and the third-party titles that maybe didn't come to the Switch help drive the momentum for the Nintendo Switch Successor. So I think that's the plan, and I think it's going to work as long as they have those big titles and a good set structure, marketing plan, and everything in line. Now, we are going to move on to the next topic here, guys, and that's the Nintendo Switch Online has 34 million subscribers. However, it's not all sunshine and rainbows. Now, according to Nintendo, there are over 34 million subscribers that are paying for the Nintendo Switch Online subscription as of September 30th, 2024. And for more details, Nintendo says that, quote, "Although we did observe a year-over-year decrease in membership, partly due to fewer new releases in the past year focusing on online play, many people continue to enjoy Nintendo Switch Online." They also said that additionally, the number of people opting for the higher tier Nintendo Switch Online Plus expansion pack has been steadily increasing since the service began in 2021, which once again makes sense because they're steadily adding new things. I still think that it's a little bit too infrequent in order to truly expand and get more people on, maybe break past the 40 million. In order for that to happen, they're going to have to improve the online play all around, which I think that the Nintendo Switch Online play test is helping to do, or it will help to do. But they're also going to have to increase the frequency and the quality of what they're releasing when it comes to the different games that you get. Yes, online play, you need that for the base package, but if you want more people to get that expansion pack, you absolutely need to sweeten the deal for people. Having the extra expansion or DLCs that you get with no additional cost, like the Mario Kart 8 booster course, for example, is huge. So if you can get other things like that, they've got Splatoon on there, they've got a few different stuff. Maybe you get Xenoblade Chronicles Future Redeemed, or maybe some other movers, anything that really has DLC at this point for any of their big or major games. All of that can help out when it comes to getting more people to get onto Nintendo Switch Online. But I think that the N64 games and adding more systems, that's going to be key to getting more people. Whether they add new tiers or more expenses or a more expensive one, that's also going to be something that they probably are looking into with GameCube and other systems as well. So I expect it to go up as Nintendo continues to add the service. And if you look at it, I don't think anybody would have figured back in 2021 when they had that trailer and everybody was just trashing it that they would be at 34 million plus. Or even if you go all the way back to 2018 when they were launching it, when they said, hey, it's going to be paid online, I don't think anybody thought that they'd be able to get this many people this quickly, considering Nintendo has had not the best track record with online and had really no track record with online subscriptions. So it's okay, it's good, but there's definitely room for improvement for them to get better, and of course for them to increase their subs as it goes along. So that's gonna wrap it up for this video here, guys. What did you think about all the different updates when it comes to Nintendo Switch Successor and the Nintendo Switch itself? Let me know in the comment section below. All right, guys, that wraps it up for this video here. Thank you so much for watching. I do appreciate it. Please make sure you hit that like button, subscribe if you're someone new, click that notification bell, and check out my other Nintendo Switch and RPG videos right here on screen. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you guys for the next one. Peace.